So, welcome to Sunday Night Live. Notice we got a new intro video. We have a new banner at the top. We're upgrading here. Well, I had a little time, so I worked on it. Anyway, so in case you didn't know, she's Cheryl.
And he's Ken.
And we're glad to have everybody here. And for those that are watching on LinkedIn, new channel for us, so we're glad to have you here with us as well. And let's see, what else do we know? Oh, first question. What's my first question, Cheryl?
Where are you watching from?
Because we always like to know where people join us from. We know we have those that join us from Canada and from the West Coast. And if you're watching on the replay, no matter what, where you're watching it, do us a favor. When you watch it, put it in the comments where you're watching us from. We check them to see. And do me a favor too, if you can hear us, click on the like button or the heart button or something, just so that we can get some feedback that our sound is working. We have had cases where we were talking and our lips were moving, but people didn't hear anything. Okay, so what else do we need to tell them, Cheryl?
Oh, well, we're from Central Florida, so that's where we're from. So now you feel like you can tell us where you're from.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, if you can hear us, please smash the like button so we know you're there and you can hear us. If you can't hear us, please put a comment in. So put any other questions in the chat, any suggestions you'd like to make for videos, and we'll be telling you what we're going to be doing in the future. So you can always tell us what you want to know about that too.
Yep. We always like to get feedback from you guys. So last week, no show. Everybody probably missed us, or maybe not. But anyway, we were on the New Amsterdam, and it was our first Holland America cruise. And let's start with a question. Have you been on a Holland America cruise? If you let us know in the chat, yes or no, if you've been on a Holland America cruise.
Hi, Pam. Nice to see you.
As always.
Oh yes. And I don't know if you got I had sent you I think I sent you a messenger message about if you could send me a photo of and the brand of your walker. I wanted to see that. We haven't had a chance yet to see the zine, so I did kind of want to compare it. We hope to see the zine this week. Our appointment last week fell through. Oh.
And so Pam says she's not been on a Holland America.
Oh, Holland America.
Are you talking to your phone?
This was our first. This was our first Holland America cruise ourselves, and we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and there were some things that were different about it that it was, like I said, it was just different. Let's start with the boarding process. I thought the boarding process went pretty well. What did you think?
Oh, okay. Yeah, you didn't see my request. Thanks for checking it out.
So what did you think about the boarding process?
It was fine. I didn't really have a problem with Holland America from the moment we're making the reservation till the moment we got off the ship later. I mean, I was quite comfortable with everything.
And one of the things we did find out, and for those of you that might drive to Miami, or excuse me, into Fort Lauderdale, if you have a lift on the back of your vehicle for a scooter, parking is free. So
don't when you come off the ship and you get into the parking lot there, do not go ahead and pay for your parking like the signs say, because what happens is when you go through to exit and your thing doesn't say it's been paid, then they'll get your tag number and they'll get your driver's license, and then you can go through without paying.
Yeah, and so that worked pretty well. But I was going to say that we had really a pretty good boarding process.
Hello, Shelley.
Hi, Shelley. Glad to have you with us today. What we wound up doing was we got there early, and this is one of the things we always do. This is our strategy, because when you're in a wheelchair, you can go and check in early, and they'll take you up to the waiting room. And then they typically give wheelchairs priority boarding. So we were like right after the suites, we got on the ship. So we were really early on. It's kind of a long hallway, but the ramp to the ship was shorter than usual, I thought.
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah, some of them are really long. No, it was not a really
Yeah, it
long.
didn't zigzag back and forth like some of them do. So that process went really well. Fort Lauderdale's when you're coming into Fort Lauderdale, there was one little thing that was confusing. They had signs up about where you go, and then they had these booths where you had to go through security. And it doesn't matter which line you are in to go through security, because the guy kept trying to get me into another line, and I was like, no, because the sign for the ship was over the middle one, and he's like, it doesn't matter. So anyway, he was right. It didn't matter, because then you just have to get out and get in the lane you want. But anyway, I thought the boarding process there was really easy. The parking lot was probably a couple 100 feet from the where you started into the terminal, so I thought that went really well. They have if you're handicapped or disabled, what they're going to do is they're going to let you go up to the second floor, and they have a elevator and a big lounge up there, and everybody that was using some kind of mobility device or had some kind of special need, they waited up there, and like I said, we boarded pretty early and got on. I will say this: we made a mistake, and I would encourage you not to do this. And, if you're boarding and you can get there early, go get in line at the buffet first. That's the only ship that's the only place to eat that's open. And we went looking around for a little bit and went by our room to see if we could get in. And then by the time we got upstairs, it was just packed, and it was hard finding a place to sit. So, if you're boarding early on the New Amsterdam there in Fort Lauderdale, I would definitely suggest that you go eat first and then go look for staterooms, because by the time you do that, then the stateroom will be open and ready for you.
Yeah, and it was normal. That was the only time I ever felt crowded on the ship, and that's because so many people come at the same time after 12 o'clock. All the airlines are arriving, all the airline flight passengers are arriving, and because, like I said, it was really, really crowded. I think before that it would have been a little better, and just know it's kind of like that. Usually, every first day on a cruise ship, those first couple hours, don't let that be your impression of the whole coming week, because you've got everybody just rushing onto the ship, running around, going here, going there, and don't know where they're going. So they're on the elevator like 4 times to get anywhere. And then on top of that, half the elevators are being reserved to move the luggage in. So just know that, those first couple hours, once they get all the luggage in, once all the elevators open, once everybody's had lunch, after that, on the New Amsterdam, it was full. They said it was completely full, and it never felt crowded after that first lunch on the first day.
Yeah,
it was very nice. They have lots of little spaces to sit and be quiet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Pam's got it down.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
It was interesting on the New Amsterdam, as Cheryl mentioned, there's lots of just little places, to sit that are kind of like quiet. You might have 3 or 4 chairs or a couch and a couple of chairs. So it was easy to find some nice quiet spots, out of the traffic. One of the things that stood out to me was they had a very large area. Let me say, they had a pretty good sized area that was called the Kennedy Center Stage or Lincoln Center Stage. I forget exactly what the name was, but it's where they played classical music. And they had, a variety of different classical musicians on board, and they played together. They played individually, and that place was always packed. They used the BB Kings several times for comedian acts, and that packed out pretty well too. And then the only other place that got really packed out, and this was we never got there early enough to have a really good seat, but it was kind of one of the places we really liked, is right next to the casino across the way. There is a place where they have 2 pianos, and they had a gentleman and a lady that played music and sang, and it was really interesting. They did a really good job. I wouldn't really call it dueling pianos like NCL has, but it was really interesting. They play different genres. Like during one night they do 60s and 70s and then 80s, or different things like that. But they'd have a theme for an hour,
and they would take requests, and they did very good. It was a lot of fun. And it was also very crowded. I mean, there was standing room in the hallway there while they were playing usually. I mean, it was a crowded standing room. It was really full. And the Lincoln Center stage part, that it's kind of it's just on the side of a hallway, but then behind it is a very small like lounge area. And it was so full for the Lincoln Center music that it was like both of those areas were filled up. So if you like classical music, you need to get there early. I've heard they're thinking of moving it into different parts of the theater on some of the other ships because it is always so popular. But the acoustics there are excellent where they have it.
Yeah. I thought the shows were okay. I don't know that I was in love with any of them, but I thought they were okay.
Yeah, they were fine.
Yeah, I would say they were fine.
Ken's not much into music and dancing.
Yeah, and if it's going to be a music, I like ones that tell a story. I'm much more in with that. So if it was like a Broadway play and they put it on the ship, I like that a lot better. But that's just my taste. I said it was amazing to me how full it stayed on, in the Lincoln Center, how many people loved classical music. The dining room worked pretty well. We always ate with other people. I don't think we ever had a table for ourselves. And it was nice. We had a lot of great conversations, met a lot of interesting people.
And we did the like pick your own time dining or something, but then we kind of had it. Then we had them set. Well, then the first day up by the pool, they had someone who was making the reservations. So we made reservations for the specialty restaurants, and we went ahead and made our reservations for the dinners. But when we went in there to dinner, they go, well, do you want to share with people or not? And so it wasn't like we were always at a set table. So every dinner, we could choose whether we wanted to be with 2 or 4. And some people had set times, and some people just showed up. And if they show up, they have to kind of wait till the set people are seated, and then they start filling them up with the people who didn't want to make a set time. Yeah. So it was very flexible, and everybody seemed to be happy with everything.
Yeah, we did try the specialty restaurants. We liked the steakhouse was really good, I thought. I really enjoyed that. We tried the Italian restaurant. The Italian restaurant is a little different in that it is actually a section of the buffet that they partition off for as a specialty restaurant
for dinner.
Yeah. And I thought the Italian food was good. They had and it's we can turn this one off.
Oh,
sorry. we have started. You can ignore that one on the bottom. Shell's going to make that go away.
Sorry about that.
But you got a rookie on the controls here tonight. I'll have to get a new production assistant. But probably the steakhouse was excellent, so it's a top contender. But they also have an Oriental restaurant that's called Tamarind, and they serve let's say it's Asian fusion, because they had Thai food, they had some Vietnamese food, they had some Chinese food, they had sushi available in there. We had pretty much ate Thai food because we love it.
It's got an excellent ambiance. It's at the top of the ship. And it's across. The only 2 things up at that part of the ship, I believe, is that restaurant and the Tamarind Bar. The Tamarind Bar is another quiet place to go. They have some like lounges you can like bed type lounges. You can lay down in there and look out over the decks through the windows. They also have chairs there along the windows. The whole section there is very nice.
Yeah. The other quiet area, and this one is, I didn't realize if you wanted where you went to get specialty coffee because it wasn't well advertised, but all the way forward, was it the Crow's Nest? Was that what it was called? Where the puzzles?
Yes, the Crow's Nest.
Yeah, they have a place at the very front of the ship called the Crow's Nest. Hi, Rhonda. No problem. You can watch the rest later. We're glad to have you, as always. So you get all the way forward. There's a really nice observation lounge. And in there is where you get your coffee, your lattes and your cappuccinos and stuff.
And they have large tables with plenty of room around them. I mean, my wheelchair had no trouble getting around that whole area. It's really, really big. And so they had large tables, and they had puzzles out, and anybody just comes and works on them and then goes on. Jigsaw puzzles, comes on, works on them, goes on, leaves it there. So those jigsaw puzzles would be out until they were completed, or somebody took it up and started a new one. They had quite a few there on the shelves with the books there. And they also had 2 big monitors showing like the ship's latitude, longitude, and things like that.
Ship's position. They also had games up there to play, like board games and card games and things.
And lots of tables, lots and lots of tables.
And again, it was one of those places that was really quiet. And like I said, that's one of the things that we liked about the ship was there were all these little spaces that you could find where if you wanted to just relax and chill, you could do that.
For the most part, it was quiet because it was a week without very many children on the ship. It was a school week, so there were a few children. It was, but I think overall, I think the people that they cater to mostly for Holland America is a quieter bunch, perhaps, than some of the other cruise lines. So it was all overall very calm and relaxing.
But contrary to popular rumor, they don't roll up the decks at 9:00 at night. There are things to do later into the evening if you want to. Now, we didn't always make it past 9:00. I'm not saying that we stayed up past that time, but we do know that there were things to see and do there.
Yeah, it was. Really enjoyed it. I think you'd like it, Pam.
Yeah, we had a good time. So let's talk about that. Some of the things that were a little more challenging with the trip. It was our itinerary kept changing because when we booked, it was Half Moon Cay, Bonaire, and then to Curacao. We wound up with Half Moon Cay, well, almost Half Moon Cay. We'll talk about that in a second. Then Aruba. But we didn't get to Aruba till 5:00 at night. We were there for like 5 hours. We stayed from 5 to 10. And so we were of the opinion that we just stayed on and because where we were docked was quite a ways from the exit to the port. And we were like, okay, we're just way too lazy. We got dinner at 5 anyway. So we stayed on board. Half Moon Cay, though, was where one of the places the wind was a challenge. And what I would say is we had wind issues from the time we left until the time we got back. That was the first time I've ever seen it where they had to have a tug in the channel there as it was sailing out because the wind was broadside to us. And it's a fairly narrow channel coming out of Fort Lauderdale. And so they had a tug beside us, keeping us from drifting up to the far edge of it. So until we got out and turned the corner, and then the wind was behind us as we headed out to sea. But we had waves the whole time. The wind blew and the wind blew and the wind blew and the wind blew.
So we couldn't get to Half Moon Cay.
Yeah. Half Moon Cay is a tender port. I've put up some videos. If you haven't seen them, they're on the channel showing the tender bouncing up and down. Now, one of the nice things about Half Moon Cay is they have a wheelchair accessible tender. So if the weather had been cooperative, we could have Cheryl could have ridden the scooter up onto the tender, down the ramp on the tender, down to the bottom, and then out and off and all over Half Moon Cay, and then back onto the ship the same way. But in this case, it wasn't even safe for people that were on foot to tender. The captain tried twice an hour apart, and like I said, that tender was going up and down 5 or 6 feet with every wave, and it was like, no, we just can't make this work.
But I do believe we have photos and video of the Half Moon Cay when we were there before the tender, when they had a wheelchair instead of a scooter. And and then I just wanted to remind everybody to check your subscribe button.
If it's red, it's wrong. Touch it and it'll change colors. Up in the corner show.
Oh, we have another comment. Okay. Oh.
Yeah. Well, I understand. Yeah. We were just we stayed busy. We didn't have any trouble finding things that we wanted to do on the ship. Like I said, we had a good time. We enjoyed it. So when we got to Aruba.
Well, Aruba, we already said we didn't get off.
We'll talk a little more about Aruba. I created a graphic. We need to use it. We can't skip it. That's my producer again, trying to sabotage all my hard work. Anyway, we went to Aruba. Like I said, we just didn't get off. It was there were a lot of people that did get off, which made everything quieter on the ship. But and again, the wind was blowing there. We might have been tempted to get off, but the wind was howling. Again, we just couldn't get away from it. Okay, now Curacao.
Yes, Curacao.
Curacao was our day to get off the ship. In fact, if you'll notice, we had a new start video today, and the new start video is we took that from the ship. There is a ferry that runs back and forth across this narrow channel, and there is a floating bridge that swings out of the way. And so that was really, really cool. When the bridge was closed, the ferry didn't run. But when we were getting ready to leave, they opened the bridge up, and so the ferry was back to going back and forth across the channel.
Yeah, it's very interesting to watch the floating bridge. We walked across the floating bridge. We have photos and some video of some of that.
Yeah,
from down on the ground too. But we didn't spend a lot of time at Curacao, but there's shopping right there, right near it. It's a cute little Dutch-looking town. It was very pretty, especially from when you come up on the ship. And then Pam wanted to let us know to remind everybody to hit the like button. Thank you, Pam. And the video of the windy stuff. Yep, the waves. Yep, that was crazy.
Yeah, like I said, even if they'd have been trying to tender, I wouldn't have wanted any part of that. I'm thinking for those that have any kind of a weak stomach, they wouldn't have made it to shore without being very unhappy because it was bouncing like a cork. When we were on Curacao, we didn't spend a lot of time exploring Curacao. What we did is we went to Sandals Royal Curacao. And that was our first time to visit a Sandals. We shot a lot of footage there. You've probably seen some pictures of Cheryl posing in different places with her wheel scooter. But we were pretty impressed with the resort, didn't you think?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's like a little paradise. There's flowers everywhere along the pathways. It's just it's extremely well groomed. The lawn, the buildings are huge. The little lounges, the waiting areas, everything is just very spacious. You really feel like you practically have the place to yourself. And even though it's crowded, they're cute little bungalows. They have heart-shaped bungalows. They have other bungalows. They have, right on the water bungalows along the golf course. Quite a few different. They have some swim outs of some from the buildings that are taller, that are like 2 to 3 stories. Some of them have swim out. The bottom ones, the bottom rooms have swim outs right there. You have your own pool. They also have, some of them have butlers. Yeah. Beautiful.
And so let's talk about accessibility a little bit, and we'll be doing videos on all of this. But they have some accessible rooms that I thought were pretty good. They had some accessible rooms that would work for most people. But if you needed a Hoyer lift, wouldn't work because you couldn't get under the bed. They had frames blocking it, but they did have at least one room we saw where you could have gotten a Hoyer lift underneath it.
That was one of the swim out more expensive rooms.
Yeah.
So you need to let them know your needs before you book a room, and then ask them, what's available and what category is it and all of that.
Yeah. And so they said again, and just along with what Cheryl said, is if they know in advance, they can try to make sure that you get what you need. They did have 2 beach wheelchairs available. Now, we didn't play with them because they weren't easy to get to for us. And what they said was, I talked to them at the dive shop, which is where they store them. They said, if somebody needs it, what they do is they call and they'll get a cart and go pick you up and take you over and check out one of the beach wheelchairs. They also have some regular wheelchairs that are available for guests that need one that didn't bring one with. There's only one restaurant that you really couldn't get to easily, and that's down there on the beach. So you'd have to have a sand wheelchair to get up close to it. The rest of the restaurants were easily accessible. The food I thought was pretty good. And the only thing I'm going to say about they had the day we were there, we chose to eat on the buffet just because it was quick and easy for us. The seafood restaurant was open, but it was just I'll to put it in perspective. By the time we ate, I had walked about 20,000 steps, almost 10 miles. And so I was not looking to walk back to the seafood restaurant, which was a ways away.
Or to the food trucks.
Or to the food trucks. Yeah, I was
kind of
the
other direction.
Yeah. But there are some food trucks, and the food trucks look like they'd be kind of interesting. I wish we'd had time, and we'll probably go back and spend some time there because it was so nice. But so the only things that really are not accessible, the beach wheelchairs don't go in the water. So you got to be able to have a little bit of mobility to get from the edge of the water into the water to go swimming or something. They said if people, that use a wheelchair if they can climb a few steps, and they can get up on the dock and take them in the wheelchair down and help them onto the boat. But there's no place on their watercraft to tie down a wheelchair, so they're not fully accessible there. They do, if you can get on the boat, then they'll take you snorkeling or scuba diving. And you say, well, if I can get on the boat, but I have all this mobility, can I do that? The answer is yes, because we've talked before. There is a place in Grenada that certifies quadriplegics and their partners as scuba divers. So there's a lot of things to do there. They have shuffleboard. Though the other thing is the pools. They don't have any pool lifts, and I didn't see any zero entry either. They're all steps. They have rails, but they're all steps to get down into the pools.
And this is a facility they had purchased and remodeled into a Sandals, and it's a beautiful facility, but it was not ever before focused on accessibility. But it's large, and the rooms are large, and the doors are wide, and so that helps a lot. But they do have some work, and they know they have some work to do. And we suggested getting a portable pool lift, on wheels, and they could put it out there when they need to. But they're still working on the property some, and but anyway, it is a beautiful, beautiful property. And if you're not really into getting into the water, you don't want to get that sunburn, just to sit on your patio or your and just look out. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is really nice. Like I said, I think that I started to tell you, go back to, sorry for my ADHD kicking in, but the buffet was Mexican food, and I grew up in New Mexico, so I'm somewhat of a Mexican food snob, and it was good. It tasted good, but it wasn't what I would say was good Mexican food. If it was in Albuquerque or in El Paso where we lived, and somebody served me that, I would be like, no, I'm not paying this bill. But for the islands, it was as good as you'll get on the ship. Yeah,
for people that don't know.
Well, yeah, it was much better than what I got in North Dakota, better than most of what I got in Minnesota, almost as good or maybe better than some of the things I got in North Carolina. But just where I grew up, it wouldn't have made the grade. But we did
the service was wonderful. The food tasted fine. It just didn't have that authentic Mexican or New Mexican flavor.
Yeah. But I would definitely love to go back, and we'll probably try to work on getting to a Sandals at some point in time and staying there. So click the next one.
Okay.
So we've got a new series coming up. It's going to start the middle of March, and it's going to be Wednesdays in the daytime. But I will share the link for you guys so that you can access the recordings. But we're going to I talked a little bit about it last time. We're going to do a series of episodes about the ultimate rail and sail trip to Alaska. So we're going to do the Rocky Mountaineer and all the permutations. We're going to start our trip in Calgary. You're going to get to Calgary, and then we're going to take the Rocky Mountaineer to Vancouver. We're going to talk about Vancouver and Juneau and Ketchikan and Skagway and Whittier, which I don't talk a lot about. And then we'll go north from Whittier on the train all the way to Fairbanks. So we're going to have guests. I'm trying now to get everybody set up, but we'll talk with Princess. They're going to talk about the special things on board. And then we'll talk later when we start talking about north to Fairbanks. We'll talk about the special things that they do on their private trains and in their private resorts. So that's going to be a really interesting series. If you want to learn about Alaska, you want to learn about the things to see and do. We're trying to get local experts for excursions. Where I run into trouble getting people, I will probably cover some of it because I spent a lot of time and energy studying Alaska because it is my personal favorite destination on the planet. Now, I haven't been to Scandinavia. I haven't been to a lot of places. But of the places I've been, that'd be my place to go. That'd be my go-to cruise.
Yes.
And so anyway, we're going to do that. The other thing is we are scheduled this week, or this week coming up, to try and go to over to see the zine in person and get some film. Get some video of Cheryl testing it out. And I suspect that if it works as good as I think it's going to work for her, we're going to order one, and then we'll do an unboxing and show you with Cheryl out out and around in our community with it.
Yeah, the zine, I think it will really help me to stand up straighter. And that's what I'm really wanting to do.
Yeah. She didn't like my idea. I was just going to strap a board around her shoulders and around her waist, and maybe one around the middle, and she'd stand up straight. She didn't like that idea. I don't know why she doesn't like my ideas.
Anyway, I think that the zine is really cool. I really want to try it, and I think it would help. Like sometimes when you get into some public restrooms, they have video on their site, which we showed briefly last week, where you face it towards you when you're sitting down, and then you just put your arms on the covers of the things above the wheels, and you use that to push yourself up. And I got to see if I can do that or not. And anyway, I'm thinking it'll be really good for me. The regular walkers are just not holding me up. I'm really tall, and anyway, even just the way you have to lean forward, I don't think that helps me. I think I need something that be beside me.
Yeah, try to make her push her back a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so it looks like there's a couple going. I'm going to work on trying to find some dates. Do me a favor, you guys. You're both in the Facebook group. Just DM me. Let me know what looks good for you next summer. We won't go this year, but it'll be a wait. It'll be sometime in 2024. I'm working on trying to build a group for that. The other thing is, and Rhonda asked about it, I think we're going to try the cruise you're on, Rhonda, that 30th of January to, it's like an 18-day trip to Hawaii on Holland America. I've got to do some research, and we have a new partnership I think we'll probably be able to announce next week. In fact, I'm hoping we have a guest from them on board, but they are a company that puts together group travel for wheelchair users and make sure that everything's is checked out. And so we have a lot of overlap between the things that I do.
That'd be great. We'd love it. Love to meet everybody.
Yeah.
There was one other thing I wanted to say, and I forgot now what it was. Keep going for a minute.
So anyway, if you're interested, if you have an interest in going with us to Hawaii, just let us know. You can, if you're in the Facebook group, DM me. You can just message me on YouTube. You can message me on LinkedIn.
Oh, I know what it was. The Holland America. So since we were just on it recently, I have to say they were very, very interested in what we had to say about being about accessibility. They did their best to make sure we were comfortable. They frequently asked us if everything was fine. And so I think not just one person, we're talking like everyone that is associated with us pretty much was always so helpful. They'd see me coming down the hall and they'd run to my room and open the door for me. They were just, everybody was just great on this ship. And I think that if you want an accessible cruise, that I could definitely recommend Holland America.
Yeah, I would say they did a very good job, and it's a good thing that they have that perspective, because we saw more walkers and strollers, and
we saw quite a few.
Yeah, walkers and scooters and wheelchairs, on board. Yeah, so that they get a lot of practice with it. But anyway, I think that's it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's been fun as always. We're glad to see everybody. We will see everybody next Sunday night. And like I said, I'm going to try to get up early as soon as I get my guest confirmed. And then on Monday, guess what we get to do? Our granddaughter is flying into Miami, so she'll be there for the show on Sunday nights. We're picking her up at the airport in Miami on Sunday. And then we're taking her on the MSC Divina for 4 nights and we're going to spend an overnight at their private island, Ocean Cay. So we will have tell you about that. And thanks everybody for being with us. We appreciate you all as always, and we'll see everybody next time.
Bye.